Alright, what's up guys? So the new patch just dropped, the one that we will be playing on for the fresh wipe. And I wanted just a little video to kind of go over the patch because I think this patch is very big, and I'm going to do a little tier list after just to tell you guys where I think the classes rank. So we have two really big things this patch. I mean, obviously there's a lot of good changes, or a lot of changes. I'm not gonna say good, but we have two really big things, and it's these two. All attribute or all spell attribute bonus ratio return to 100%, and the all attributes random modifiers can now go up to +3. Motherfucker. This fucking sucks. Specifically for us fighter players. Now, I'm going to give you the rundown on why. So, for starters, this right here. Basically, if you don't know, like the last patch, they nerfed this to 50%. That's why wizards and clerics weren't that good. Clerics weren't healing for much, Holy Strike wasn't doing much, and wizards weren't doing that much damage because they nerfed it from 100% to 50%. However, they have now reverted it, and now we are fucked. So, the reason we are is because basically they're just doing they're doing the normal damage now. Clerics are healing for as much as they were before, and wizards are doing the same damage they were. So wizards are back to two-shotting us with Zap, one-shotting us with Fireball, two-shotting us with Chain Lightning. Yeah. And this, the all attributes random modifiers can now go up to +3. If you are new to the game, you won't know what this feels like. But basically, if you ever see a piece of gear that has all attributes +1 or all attributes +2, which generally you can only see +2 on the big pieces like chest piece and legs, and then +1 was on like everything else. I think +2 is on necklace as well, but I'm not 100% on that. I think it might have been only +1. However, now they can go up to +3. And what this means is any piece of gear that can roll +3 has to have it to be a good piece of gear, because it is literally giving you 3 points into every single stat. And don't get me wrong, some classes can't use every stat. Like, fighters don't use knowledge, barbarians don't use knowledge. However, a class like a wizard or a cleric loves this because they can use every single stat in the game. Do they use it that well? Not particularly. Like, for the most part, wizards are literally just going to get extra HP. However, they're getting a lot of extra HP. Normally, wizards only have like 75, 85 HP tops with a couple like HP percent rolls or something, or flat HP rolls on some of their gear. Now, they're going to get +3 on pretty much everything. What the fuck? And also, the thing is, so I am assuming now, I could be wrong, that this +3 will only roll on big pieces of gear. However, if +3 can roll on big pieces, then +2 can probably roll on small pieces. So, like, everything else can roll +2, while chest and legs can roll +3. And so, if you factor that all in, they're getting, like, I don't know, like 15 extra stats and everything, assuming you roll it on everything. That's 30 extra HP for wizards. So, wizards are breaking over 100 HP now. So, you can't one-shot them with a crossbow anymore unless you're incredibly geared with a really good crossbow. Or if you headshot them. And just in general, they are much, much tankier. They do much more damage because they don't have to go for specific rolls, because they can get +3 knowledge, +3 will, and +3 all. And that's something else. Is with this +all roll, you can also roll the +1 stat. So in theory, a wizard could get like +3 all, +3 knowledge, +3 will on one piece of gear. And now they're getting 6 will, 6 knowledge, and then +3 for everything else. They removed this from the game for a reason. It was too all-encompassing. It basically, every class had to roll it for their gear to be considered a good piece, and it was dumb. It literally led to like fighters and barbarians and pretty much any class, like clerics especially. Clerics are who benefit the most from this because clerics use every stat well. But it would lead to clerics having like 50 will, 40 plus knowledge, 30 plus in every other stat. So they just had a ridiculous amount of stats for absolutely no reason. And yeah, so these two right here are going to make fighters feel very, very weak this patch. I mean, I'm assuming maybe fighters aren't as bad as I think they are. I think fighters are going to feel really, really bad. Just this change alone right here makes fighters not as good as they already were, because now we're getting screwed by magic damage again, and we're getting clapped by a lot of physical, like rangers with pen shot and stuff. Alright, now let's go over the others. All potions down here for 15 HP. The required duration for the potion decreases as grade improves. This is what they did with bandages last patch, where all bandages healed for the same amounts. However, the higher tier bandages, it would decrease the use time. This basically just means, so like a gray potion will heal for 15 HP, but maybe it takes 30 seconds to do it. Purple potion will also heal for 15 HP, but it'll probably heal for over 15 seconds. So it'll heal for the same amount, but you heal much faster. Then improve the ratio of recoverable health from zero point 0.5 to 0.65 for taking damage. I'm pretty sure this means before, if you took damage, 50% of that would remain as gray health. Now, 65% will remain as gray health. So this just makes bandages a little bit better and Bard's tranquility spell or song a little bit better. All bandages now take a base time of 5.5 seconds to apply, but heals varying amounts of recoverable HP based on the grade. They swapped what potions and bandages do. Now bandages all have the same amount of time. They heal more depending on the grade. So like they used to all heal for 15. Now higher rarities heal for like 25 or something, or 35 or whatever the rarity goes up to. They nerf surge kits. Now your interaction speed is only giving 50% of the bonus to using surge kits or bandages. So if you have a high interaction speed, like you get less bonus for using surge kits. So like rangers and rogues can't use these as fast. Some classes don't suffer as much from this. Like clerics don't really suffer as much from this because their interaction speed is very low anyways. They made Francisca's cheaper and hunting traps more expensive. This doesn't really matter. No one really uses these because they're really weak. Unless they buff them, you never know. They could shadow buff stuff. And hunting traps are increased in price. This doesn't really, like, something like this doesn't really matter except for really early game. But for the most part, like a really like geared and rich player isn't gonna matter, or like they're not gonna care about these. These don't really matter to us anyways. We're not using we're not really buying Francis's or hunting traps, so this doesn't matter. Bard nerfs Accelerando, which is I actually don't even know which one this is. I don't know which spells are which. I know this is the armor debuff, and I'm pretty sure these are the two movement speed ones. I'm pretty sure. I don't know which is which though. Because I know they have two of them. Actually, hell, this might be a movement speed. But yeah, they're a little bit slower now. Not really that big of a nerf. This Shriek also isn't that big of a nerf because this scales with their magical power stat. So overall, it doesn't change a whole lot. Okay, so the biggest nerf to Bard this patch is them buffing Cleric. Cleric is going to be incredibly OP to the point where it's almost going to be a necessity to have one in your comp. So Bard stocks down. Wizard Zap, it takes 0.25 seconds longer to cast. If you consider the fact that a couple patches ago they took 0.25 seconds off of every spell, Wizard Zap's basically just to where it was a couple patches ago. Quarterstaff and Zwei move speed penalty got reduced, so you're faster with him. Neither of these matter. Both of these weapons are awful. Entrance fee will be kept at 50 gold for now. That was always expected. High rollers weren't filling up as much because people they couldn't make their money out of it. And the gold horse has been removed from the ruins map. I never even hit this gold horse, so I don't even know how good it was. I don't know. Maybe people were making a lot of money off of it. I don't know. And then they said, we decided to revert the spell attribute ratio back to 100% after realizing that a universal nerf to all spells in this manner was too broad a change and made it too difficult to easily gauge the effectiveness of bonus magic stats on items. I'm just going to say it. I think this is stupid. This is the dumbest. They nerfed it to 50% and then immediately buffed it back to 100% when they were bad. Now, it could just be me, but why wouldn't they go for the middle ground of like 75% to see how it feels? If 100% was too broken and 50% was too bad, isn't 75% a pretty solid mid-ground to see where they stand? Because I'm not going to lie, them saying like it was too much of a change and made it too difficult to gauge the effectiveness, like, okay, so you wanted to see a change. That change was too much, so you reverted it back to what it already was, so you could just continue to not see a change? I mean, and they said, like, a more surgical approach to spellbalancing in the future. Like, okay, but why wouldn't you keep trying it now? Why would you revert it just to try to fix it in the future? Because it's clearly a problem at 100%. Wizards do too much damage. Clerics do too much healing. Let's not forget, by the way, they buffed wizards. Like, whenever they nerfed this to 50%, they also buffed some of the wizard spells. Like, they buffed Fireball. So overall, wizards are coming out on top. They're coming out with a net buff. There's a gain for them. So this just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, this also doesn't make, these two changes right here in particular, I think are awful. I think these alone are going to make this patch feel really, really bad, not just for fighters, but just for anyone in general. And this is going to be one of the worst patches they've done. I mean, the healing changes are like whatever. Like, this bandage change is pretty cool. The bandages don't really matter if they still only heal gray health, which I assume they do. It says recoverable health, so yeah. I mean, gray health bandages don't really matter, especially with cleric being good. The potion change is pretty cool. I mean, it depends on how much it decreases per grade. If this goes down a lot, then it's pretty good, but for the most part, most players are only ever going to use gray or white potions, maybe a green if they pick it up, but this isn't happening often, so it doesn't affect most players. And then what else do they say? Slight debuff to Wizard Zap. Like, this is dumb. Like, a slight debuff. Like, they nerfed one spell off of Wizard, even though they buffed so much of the rest of them. They nerfed one spell slightly, and really, this isn't a nerf. This just brings it back to where it was a couple patches ago before they gave them the 0.25 second time, or they took 0.25 seconds off of all the Wizard spells. So overall, Wizards are literally in a much better spot, and they are once again top 2 classes in the game easily. The only reason I'm not going to say they're the best is because Rangers are really, really strong, and Rangers are effectively the best Wizard counter other than Barbarian. Because Barbarians don't die to Wizards, but they don't kill them that easily if a Wizard wants to run away. Rangers can actually kill Wizards very easily. And so they're going to keep making more changes. I think next patch we are going to need to see some really... I think next patch they are going to remove this. Like, I think this will be reverted. I think it should. I really hope it is. And I think they are going to have to nerf this. I think they're going to change this to probably like 80, 75% or something. Or we're going to see like Wizard nerfs across the board. Because Wizard's going to be so overpowering. Same with Cleric. And then, they said like some healing changes and stuff. Balance changes the Bards and weapon changes. I mean, Bard after this patch, Bard as a character is going to be fine. The problem is Cleric's going to be so OP, you're going to have to run it. So it's going to be like Bard's going to be in a weird spot. It's like if you want to run it, you're going to have to run double support. And even then, that's kind of iffy because there's like Wizard so OP. So really, you want to run Cleric plus Wizard. Like I firmly believe Cleric, Wizard, like Barb is going to be one of the best comps. And so I don't think Bard really fits in there anywhere. I think Bard's going to be much weaker. And then, this is funny. We understand we may have gone overboard with a Nerf hammer. It's really funny they said that. That's very interesting. We started some of the most unpopular weapons. Will continue on this path for a foreseeable future. I mean, though you could literally make the Zweihander like have like 30 base. Like you could give it this movement speed right here, and it would still be bad. It just has an awful moveset. It's unusable in like 90% of the situations that you'd want to fight in. Like you literally can't fight in a doorway with this because you can't swing the you can't use the normal attack or the alternate attack because it just hits the walls and clinks off the walls. So it's like the movement speed is not why this weapon's bad. It literally needs an entire either you have to use it on an open map like Ruins, or it needs an entire like moveset overhaul to make it viable. It's the same issue with War Maul. You literally can't use it in most situations. The Falchion almost suffers from it, but the Falchion's shorter, so it's not as bad. Alright, but for the most part, these are the patch notes. And I'm going to go over a little bit of classes a little bit more in depth and how I think they're going to be in this tier list really quick. So let's pull this up. Alright, we have a tier list here. Just all the normal classes. I don't know why the names are cut off. That's weird. Obviously, Druid isn't going on there anywhere because we don't care about Druid. So please nerf Cleric. Cleric's going to be the best class in the game. It's not going to be close. This character is about to be so stupidly OP. It's going to feel awful. Fighters can't kill them. Barbs are really Barbs, Wizards, and Rangers the only characters that can really kill Cleric. And if they go tanky, Rangers don't do it that well. Wizards are going to have a hard time getting to them to kill them, and Barb should be stopped by the front line. So Clerics are going to be so unstoppable this patch. They are going to be doing literally everything. They can frontline, they can do damage, they can heal, they can provide utility with shields, they can bless, bossing, PvP. Cleric is going to do it literally all. This character is back to being the most desirable character in the game, and you're going to want one on every single team comp. Follow it up, right in S tier, it is going to be Ranger, and then Wizard. Wizard got huge buffs. The +3 all benefits them incredibly well, as well as their spells being reverted back to 100% scaling. I don't know if that includes Magic Missile. It might, because Magic Missile got nerfed at the start of early access, and like in a patch they didn't even say it. So I don't know if that means a Magic Missile is getting reverted. Honestly, that doesn't really matter that much for PvP. It's mostly just a PvE thing. So overall, probably won't change anything. But these two characters are definitely the S tier characters. They're both ridiculously strong. Ranger counters Wizard slightly. Wizard counters like everything else in the game, but Ranger and like Barbarian. And that's why I bring Barbarian to A tier. I think Barbarian is one of the only characters that can effectively play against Wizard Cleric backline. Fighter really can't do it. You just kind of die to Cleric or Wizard. 2 zaps, you're dead. Holy Strike, Judgment, you're dead. 2 Earthquake, with Earthquake, you're dead. You can't get through it. You just have to sit there and they're just going to kill you in it. The only way you can really play fighters, you have a Cleric basically just sitting there pocket healing you. I mean, the comp we play, which is Barbarian, Fighter, Cleric, is going to get a little value. It's pretty good against this meta, to be fair, even though I am playing a weak fighter. But overall, I think Barbarian's a solid place here. Barbarian stocks are definitely up this patch. I mean, they suck against Ranger, and Ranger's really strong, so you just have to support them with a Fighter, I think, or something that can tank the Ranger shots to let them deal with a Wizard Cleric. Alright, and the next class we have Rogue here. Rogue is here because Ranger and Wizard are going to be so strong that he can act. Rogue's one of the classes that can reliably kill them with their stealth. Rogue really can't kill Cleric anymore because Clerics are going to have so much HP and so much armor that it's going to be very, very hard for them to do it. Although they can kill these two classes, and if they get really, really geared, they can kill Cleric. It's just very hard for them to do. All right, bringing up next, I think Bard will be B tier. I don't think Bard as a character with his kit belongs in B tier, but I think the fact that how the meta is going to play out and the fact that Cleric is going to take up one team spot every single time, Bard just kind of going to be pushed out where it's not going to have a spot in a team comp. You can run it, but if you run it, you're running double support. And it's like, why do that when Wizard is a better support than Bard's going to be for half the characters? Wizard supports Barbarian better, and it supports Fighter better. All Bard can do is buff you up with like movement speed and like prots, but like you really don't need that. Wizard's giving you haste for speed, and you don't need the prots because Cleric's giving you fat shields, and he's gonna full heal you for your entire health bar with each one of his spells. So it's like it doesn't really matter if you take damage because you're never gonna die as long as your Cleric hits you with a heal. Fighter, I think, is probably still in B tier. Like it's bad. It's not awful. Fighter, I mean, if you're playing an optimal meta comp, Fighter isn't going to be in most of them. Are there some that Fighter can run in? Yes. Generally, Fighter is going to be much weaker than Barbarian as a frontline now. I think especially with the main problem with Fighter now is going to be the fact that basically every comp is going to have Cleric, and Cleric can kill Fighters very, very easily. And that's not even considering if other comps have Wizards. Like, if a comp has a Cleric and a Wizard, Fighter literally just stands there, and you're like, I can't play the game. I just have to shoot my crossbow at them or shoot a bow at them if you're using a bow. You can't step up. 2 zaps, you're dead. Holy Strike, Judgment, you're dead. Fireball, Chain Lightning, dead. Any of that. You just, oh, God forbid the Cleric Earthquakes. If you get Earthquake with a Wizard staring at you, like, literally just take your hands off the keyboard. Like, all right, guys, GG. Get my stuff if you can. That's how it goes. And then Warlock is still C tier. This class isn't finished yet, so it doesn't really count. I mean, this class is honestly, this class is actually semi-usable. They do pretty good damage, but overall, the class isn't finished yet, so it's still C tier. It doesn't have much use. Even when you're very geared, you're just a worse version of a wizard that's much, much worse. Like, he has gimmicks out of magical healing, yes. He's pretty good for PvE, yes, but PvP is basically useless, and this is a PvP tier list for the most part. Like, there are some exceptions, like Cleric is... I mean, Cleric would be up here for PvE and PvP, let's be real. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I think this is probably a pretty accurate tier list. I think Rogue could, in theory, probably come down to B or A. I think these are pretty... I think he's pretty interchangeable here. I'm only putting him here because he has potential to kill the 2 best DPS in the game. Probably more so than anybody else. And to be fair, this is also a tier list for when people get super geared. It's hard to say. I think Fighter is going to feel like the worst character in the game even like before he's geared, and even after he's geared. I don't think Fighter's going to feel much better. Kitted Rangers with Pen Shot can kill Fighter. Wizard kills Fighter. Cleric kills Fighter. The only character that Fighter reliably counters right now is like a Barbarian and a Rogue. And Rogues only if they try to fight you like straight up with weak point. If they apply weak point from far away and have a Barbarian or another Fighter push you, then Fighter loses. And then Bard is a support character, so I'm not considering them. Like, obviously, Fighter would counter them. And then Warlock beats Fighter. So the only characters Fighter reliably counters is Barbarian, if you can block a Reckless Strike if they're running it, or Rogue, if they're fighting you straight up. But Fighter loses to Cleric, loses to Wizard, loses to Warlock. Ranger can beat them with good positioning. It's not actually that hard. So Fighter's going to be I believe Fighter's going to be a very weak spot. I mean, could I be wrong? Yes. Do I hope I'm wrong? Also yes. Am I? Probably not. Fighter is going to feel much harder to play this patch. So it's going to be, you're going to get to the point like where Fighter is, if you take a slight misstep out of position, you are just dead. Which, I mean, you could arguably say like that's good for the game, is, you know, you have to play very carefully. But I feel like Fighter is going to get to the point where it's like if you step into any fight, you're just going to die. You're accepting the fact that you are going to be a necessary casualty in a fight. And for the most part, that's going to happen. Fighter now is unplayable without Cleric also. Like, if you play this character without Cleric, it's literally like D tier. It's like down here. It is absolutely necessary to have a Cleric on a Fighter now. Your second wind doesn't matter. You will die way before that second wind ever heals you enough to matter. And that is to every character in the game. If you have a Cleric pump and heals into you, then maybe you can... Like, you could probably get to a Wizard because it lets you live 3 or 4 zaps at the most if they're constantly healing you. But without a Cleric, this is about to feel like the absolute worst character in the game. But yeah, that's the tier list and the patch rundown. I'll probably put out more videos as soon as the patch comes out and wipe starts, and I play the game and feel it more, see if I was wrong, see if I was right. And I will have more videos coming shortly. I will do I have videos of what's it called, of us using 3 artifacts. That's pretty fun. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I will answer as best I can. And yeah, until next time, peace.